Many Italian Americans have no idea that an Italian diaspora exists in other parts of the world. Italian identity didn't just leave in one direction, to Ellis Island, and stop there. It fragmented across the world, and each country preserved a different version of it. I'm here today to change the thoughts and beliefs of many Italian Americans on their lack of knowledge on the Italian diaspora as a whole. Many Italian Americans have no idea that there's an Italian diaspora in other parts of the world outside of the US. Many of them think that Italians left Italy, came through Ellis Island, and that's the end of the story. But Italians didn't just leave in one direction. They fragmented across the world, and they preserved different traditions and regionalities and history because of it. I'm here to change the thoughts of many people who don't know that there are millions of brothers and sisters around the world that are Italian descendants, just like us as Italian Americans in the US. I'm going to touch on the key countries that received Italian immigration to fill in the gaps on where so many people went from just one country and enriched cultures around the world. First, I'll start with the USA, because this is a place, of course, that many Italian Americans are familiar with. The peak of Italian immigration to the United States was between 1880 and 1925, with the true peak coming between 1900 and 1915. In that period alone, there was about 4.5 million Italians that emigrated to the US. 80% of these immigrants came from the southern half of Italy, regions like Calabria, Campania, Sicily, Abruzzo, Puglia, and so on. There were some northern Italians in the earlier waves of immigration, but like I said before, a majority falls into the southern Italian category. So there's a reason why Italian American culture resembles a lot more of an older Southern Italian culture than anywhere else. So our Italian American identity is heavily Southern Italian in its origins. And then after that, some other heavy hitters, like Argentina, which had somewhat constant immigration between the 1850s and the 1950s, with its peak also coming during the period of the Great Migration, which was approximately 1880 to 1930. In that 100-year period, a fairly continuous yet varied Italian immigration, around 3.5 million Italians arrived in the country. During the Great Wave of Migration, most of those immigrants came from a handful of regions. Northern regions like Piemonte, Lombardia, Veneto, and Liguria, and southern regions like Calabria, Campania, and Sicily. During that period, Italians were anywhere between 45 to 70% of immigrants, and they are the largest immigrant group in that period to Argentina. And today, over 50% of Argentinians have Italian ancestry, which is the largest of any country in the world outside of the Italian peninsula. Now let's move on to another big one, Brazil. Brazil had immigration starting in the mid-1870s and also having a post-World War II wave. However, the largest wave of immigration in this country from Italy was between 1880 and 1910, with approximately 1.2 to 1.5 million Italians settling in this country, only second in South America to Argentina. These immigrants typically came from a few major regions. In the southern parts of Brazil, but also in São Paulo, there was heavy influence from the region of Veneto, which is the largest regional immigrant group to go to Brazil. There was also, in the state of São Paulo specifically, high numbers of immigrants from Calabria, Campania, and Tuscany. And in southern regions also from Lombardia and Friuli Venezia Giulia. And in Brazil, there was a mix of this immigration going to cities, but also to agricultural colonies, which is significantly different than the US, where a grand majority of our southern Italian immigrants went straight to large metropolitan centers like New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, Cleveland, and beyond. The next country to take a look at is Canada. The immigration took place between approximately 1900 and 1970 for the most part, with the peak coming post-World War II, so around 1945 to 1970. There were around 600,000 to 700,000 post-World War II immigrants alone. And today there are approximately 1.5 million Canadians of Italian descent. These immigrants also mostly came from southern Italy, regions like Calabria, Campania, Sicily, Abruzzo, and Molise, which leaves a lot in common with the US, as we had similar regions of origin, but different time periods where the highest number of immigrants came to the country. And similar to in the US, when a lot of the Italians immigrated to the Canadian cities, they were also involved in a lot of the labor and urban development of different parts of Canada. Another country to touch on is Australia, which saw Italian immigration between the late 19th century all the way into the 1970s. Their peak was the same as Canada, approximately 1945 to 1970 after World War II, and they counted about 300,000 immigrants in this post-World War II period. Today, there are over 1 million people of Italian descent in Australia, and a lot of them can trace their ancestry back to southern regions as well, such as Sicily, Calabria, and Campania. But there was also a significant impact from some northern regions like Friuli Venezia Giulia and Veneto. So to break it down from these multiple countries that received a lot of Italian immigration, and not even including some major ones like France or Germany or Uruguay, I can summarize it like this. The Italian diaspora wasn't just one movement. It was 3 different migrations happening at different times from different regions of Italy, going to different parts of the world. So for a breakdown, the USA was overwhelmingly Southern Italian and seeing mass migration between the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Argentina was mixed north and south in terms of regional immigration, and they were the largest immigrant group to the country. So it wasn't just a cultural impact, it was a cultural takeover. In Brazil, a lot higher of their percentage of immigration came from northern Italy, specifically the region of Veneto, although they did have significant impacts from the south as well. Both Argentina and Brazil saw a majority of their immigration come in the late 19th and early 20th centuries as well. Canada and Australia were very similar, in which their heavy periods of migration came after World War II and heavily focused from regions in the south. However, Australia had a little bit more northern Italian input, with significant immigration from the regions of Friuli, Venezia Giulia, and Veneto. So like I said before, Italian identity isn't one size fits all, because it didn't leave Italy in just one direction at just one time. It fragmented across the world, and different countries preserved different versions of it. This has led to what we see as such a beautiful and fascinating Italian diaspora in so many different parts of the world. I didn't even mention some other countries that have amazing Italian communities and ones that are definitely worth exploring. I just wanted to bring to light the fact that a lot of Italian Americans don't recognize the fact that there are people just like them in so many different parts of the world. And it's my dream to one day have us be a lot more connected, and also connected back to a modern Italy. Siamo Oriundi. Grazie mille, ci vediamo. Thank you for watching another video, and I'll be back soon with another one.